Hello and welcome to Blue Army TV. I'm sitting here after Carlisle's relegation back to League 2 has been confirmed with a 2-0 loss away at Northampton Town. I'm not going to say it was our worst performance of the season because I don't think it was, but it was definitely the most boring and dull game of the season, and what a game to go down in. It pretty much sums up the season as a whole, with some, a difficult injury to Danny Butterworth early on. Sean Maguire comes on, and as usual, we concede right after making a substitution. Again, it's not the fault of the substitute. It's just we just seem to be cursed that whenever we make a substitute, we concede, and we did immediately after that through a corner. Northampton's only real chance of the first half, and look, I think we looked the better team in the first half an hour. But I'm sick of saying that. I'm sick of trying to look for the positives. At the end of the day, it's another drab, dull performance, and it's another loss that sees us go down mathematically now. And look, yeah, Reading could get a points deduction. There's a lot of things you can still hold out hope for, but yeah, we're down now officially, and it just sums up today what a really awful season we've had as a whole. Because look, it's been a long time coming. Yes, we've been relegated today, but in a way we haven't, because we've been relegated for quite a long time now. And after such a positive season off the pitch this year, it's such a shame that this has had to happen. And you look at what's happened at the club this week. Disciplinary action having to happen for our top goal scorer, who wasn't in the squad today, and one of our, most reliable players in Alfie McCalman as well. These kind of things shouldn't be happening with professional footballers, and hopefully neither will be at the club here next season. And I can say that for a lot of the current first team, and it's going to be an interesting summer. It really is. And look, we've got a few games to go until the end of the season yet, but I'm not thinking about them. They're just friendlies at this point. And I've never been less excited to go to games, because look, even under, it's definitely not the worst team I've seen as a Carlisle fan, but it's been a long time since games have meant nothing. As bad as things were under Keith Milne and Stephen Presley, there was never a point where we were, mathematically out. So I've never really experienced for quite a while now meaningless, dead games that mean absolutely nothing. Which is what we're going to have to put up with for the rest of this season now, and I can imagine the attendances will probably drop massively, and yeah, look, I don't really know what else to say. It's just really disappointing, and what's a big worry for me is a lot of these players that need to be gone are still under contract for next season, and a lot of the players seem to be getting played. Look, it's come out in the news this week that Jack Diamond might be staying on the next season. I wouldn't keep him, I really wouldn't. He hasn't impressed me at all. Maybe it's a League 1, League 2 kind of difference, and maybe he'll look good in a kind of top half team. He's a bit of one of them players that he doesn't suit a relegation fight, which I think is true to a certain extent, but I wouldn't have him. I don't want Gibson renewed. I don't want Sean Maguire renewed. Sam Lavelle probably shouldn't be here next season. Ben Barkley I don't think is good enough. You look at the midfield, Dylan McGeoch is injured far too much, is under contract for next season. Alfie McCalman, with all the things that have gone on off the pitch and why he's not involved in the squad this week. You look at some of the attackers as well. To be fair, a lot of them have already been released. And the whole thing with Green going and Corey Whelan, a hero from last season, not being registered in the squad. He'll be gone as well. You look at Harry Lewis, I just don't think he's good enough. I know he's been brought in January for big money as well, and he will start the season next season as our starting goalkeeper. I don't think he's good enough. I think he's had one good season with Bradford where he was largely defended. He reminds me a bit of Thomas Hawley in that season, because I think they were both in very similar positions where they were playing in a top half side with a very good defence in front of them, and they weren't shown up and they weren't really tested. And in both situations, in Thomas Hawley's and Harry Lewis's, they've come up to League 1, they've been thrown into a kind of, they've both been thrown into this Carlisle team with not a good defence in front of them for this level anyways, and they've been shown up to be below average keepers at this level, because it's all right being good at, making some nice saves every once in a while, but if you can't come for crosses and you can't do the simple stuff right, you're never going to make it in a team like this. And maybe next season Harry Lewis will be back to his best form, but he really hasn't impressed me since we've signed him. I think there's been one game, and I think that's Burton Albion, where he's been half decent. The rest of the time, I mean, look, what's he doing for that second goal today? And I can say a lot for a lot of these players. Josh Emmanuel, another player I need to mention. I mean, why are we in a position where we're having to bring on Jaden Harris and Josh Emmanuel, neither of which are good enough for League 2 in my opinion, never mind League 1. And you've got Josh Emmanuel running back, trying to catch the Northampton man in the last minute today, just being brought on. He shouldn't be tired, and he should be faster than what he is, and he just can't keep up. It's 2 games now in this week that we've managed to concede from our own corner. It's a dreadful stat. And I don't think there was a single one of our corners that managed to beat the first man today. And you look at some of the set-piece takers we've supposedly got, Jack Robinson, Jack Diamond. It's unacceptable to not be able to make, just put a decent cross in. You're a professional footballer, a League 1 footballer, and you can't beat the first man from a corner. It really, really drives me up the wall. And look, the thing that drives me mad about this relegation is you look at the start of the season, you look towards the end of the season, there's so many points dropped from positions we should have been winning. I almost feel like, yes, we came into this season with a weak squad. We really did. I'd argue we came into this season with a weaker squad than what we ended last season with. But I'd argue it was such an avoidable relegation this year, because I think we're better than Fleetwood. I think we've shown that we can compete with the big teams. You look at Mellish's hat-trick against Peterborough when we played them off of the park. Look at Bolton, where Jordan Gibson got his hat-trick. He showed that there's some quality in this team. And I just think poor mentality and kind of like, I just don't know. I think the momentum died from last season fairly quickly. And it's just such a disappointing season, because I just don't think it needed to happen. And look, today is just the final nail in the coffin. We've been down for a while now, and to go down without at least putting up a fight, we're barely into April now and we're already down. We've got a good few games left of the season that just aren't going to mean anything anymore. If we go down fighting, we go down on the last day of the season, that kind of thing, you can almost accept it. But some of these players, and you look at the disciplinary action that's having to happen now, some of them I just don't think could be bothered at times. Some of them, I'd admit, there are players at this club that I think care, and I think just weren't good enough, and I think Joe Garner can be put under that. He definitely cared about the club at the start of the season. He was just past his best. And then you've got players who are more than capable and just don't seem to put the effort in. And I'm talking about the likes of Jordan Gibson, and there's more as well. But yeah, and Sean Maguire as well. He's one that from day one, he's just looked like he thought he was too good to be here. He's on megabucks at the club apparently. He's meant to be one of our top earners, and he comes on today, and I can't remember him ever touching the ball, let alone having a good chance. I can't remember him touching it. I can't remember him coming into play at all. Today was just such a boring game, and emotions will run high. And look, I still think Paul Simpson's the right man. I think he's got a lot of things wrong this season, especially with some of the things he's said after games. For example, constantly putting his own team down by saying, oh, look, we just weren't as good as them, it's a big step up, that kind of thing. Constantly saying how other teams are better than us. Which is true, but it's a weird one for me. And I think there's been so many individual mistakes made this season, and there's so many games that we should have got points from and we haven't. And the fact that we started the season with, a starting striker of Joey Garner and Sean Maguire shows that we're always doomed from the start anyways. But yeah, it's a frustrating one. We're down now. All we can do is look to next season. And look, the positives to take from today. Georgie Kelly looks an absolutely amazing player. He could only make 60 minutes just coming back from injury. But him and Armstrong next season are going to be unreal. And if Butterworth can come back from the injury sustained today, well, I think he's another brilliant attacker that we've got on our hands. Harrison Neal, I think it wasn't his best game today. I don't think he played well. But he's another example of a player that's still young. We've got him on a long contract, and he's going to be a good player for us, I think. Then you've got John Mellish at the back, always gives his all. He's shown he's good enough for League Two once in the promotion race. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do next season. So we've got some players in this squad that I think are more than capable of taking us back up next year. But look, Jack Armour was brilliant in the promotion race, but he hasn't been up to it this season. Jack Robinson, he's got sparks, but is he really good enough? Jack Ellis, I think, has been thrown at the deep end a bit. I think he's a young player that did alright in League 2 that hasn't been able to make the step up to League 1. There's going to need to be some recruitment, and there's going to need to be some players still in contract with us at the minute that need to be let go in the summer despite their contracts with us. Because you look at the likes of, look at that back line today. John Mellish, I think, is the only one today in that back line, including the keeper, that's good enough for this level. And people will disagree with me on that because, John Mellish has made his mistakes and, he's made a few decision-making errors, but yeah, it's frustrating, and Paul Simpson's right. We're going to have some mad recruitment in the summer to get us back to this level, because League 2 is not to be taken for granted. It's a decent league with some decent teams in it, and if we're not careful, we'll struggle. But I think we've got some players at the minute that are good enough to get us promoted next season. We just need the recruitment to be right, and look, with the new American money coming in, plus Jared Branthwaite money when he inevitably gets sold in the summer, we'll have the budget to spend big next summer. Let's just try and get this season out of the way, put it behind us, put it to the back of our minds. Yes, enjoy the good times in this division, although there's been a few, very, very few of them. I'll forever remember the Bolton away win, and, well, that's about it, to be honest, but, yeah, we'll just have to put it behind us now, and try and push on for promotion next season, and get us back into League 1. But yeah, frustrating season, frustrating day. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel, and in a bit.